January 28, 2026, was the day South Africa's parliament got exposed. It was not a mistake. It was a signal. A businessman demanding that the state pay for his private security for 7 days versus a parliamentary committee investigating police corruption. Think about that. And the worst part is, this did not start today. I am going to show you with documents, public records, and clips from Parliament. To understand this crisis, look at what happened in the last 24 hours. The thread is simple: power, influence, and a web of connections that runs from business figures to ministers and senior police. Brown Mogotsi, a controversial businessman from Northwest. In testimony and allegations presented to the Madlanga Commission, he was mentioned as a possible intermediary between Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who is on special leave, and Vusimuzi, Cat Matlala, who was linked there to an alleged criminal syndicate. That is what was said in that forum, and that is exactly what the committee and the public are trying to verify. I want you to hear this: what he demanded, why it was rejected, and who said it out loud.
I think it is his own people. And then I contacted Parliament's protection services for them to look at the issues that was raising around the security. And the offer that he was given was that he can come to Cape Town, and then as soon as he lands, there will be protection offered or escorts offered. Mr. Mogotsi refused that offer. He says that he doesn't want to be protected by people that he doesn't know. He prefers to have his own people protecting him, and he was requesting that Parliament must fund that for a period of 7 days. Yesterday, I contacted him so that we could book flights for him. I requested him to provide me with his ID number so that I can arrange flights for and accommodation for him. And then he told me that he would not give that unless the security details that he wants is in place. So that is how far it is. But before the meeting started, I spoke to Advocate Mkhwanazi, who was under the impression that Mr. Mogotsi is coming, because apparently that is what he told her, that he will be landing today. But I don't know if he bought his own flights or what, but he never indicated to me that he was coming. So there is that confusion. That's all that I can say, Chairperson.
Okay. So, as it stands, honorable members, like you inquired yesterday, as at now, it is uncertain as to whether Mr. Mogotsi is going to be here tomorrow, given the ridiculous demands that he is making to Parliament.
What you just heard is not commentary. It is a report delivered in a public committee sitting, recorded in the official record and on video. Quick recap in 3 simple points. 1. According to the committee, Mogotsi rejected the escort arrangement that was proposed for his landing in Cape Town. 2. He said he does not want to be protected by people he does not know. 3. He demanded that Parliament pay for his private security for a full 7 days. That raises serious questions. Why would a witness summoned by Parliament believe he has the power to negotiate his own conditions? It suggests a system where the rules do not apply equally to everyone. Brown Mogotsi is a Northwest businessman with political links mentioned in public reporting. In different forums and testimonies, he has been named in the context of possible interference and pressure inside the criminal justice system. These are claims discussed publicly, and they do not, by themselves, amount to a conviction or facts proven in court. According to reporting on the Madlanga Commission, Mogotsi said he was an agent or asset linked to crime intelligence. He said his work required building legends and creating false identities. He acknowledged having lied in previous statements or affidavits and framed it as legend building tied to his role, something the Commission challenged sharply. In testimony and allegations presented to the Madlanga Commission, Mogotsi was described as a possible link between Minister Mchunu, on special leave, and Vusimuzi cat Matlala, who faces serious allegations. In that same context, a supposed criminal group or network nicknamed the Big Five was mentioned. That label appears as an allegation discussed in the commission, not as a settled judicial fact. Among the allegations and testimony discussed publicly were an alleged payment of R$5,000 toward an internal ANC campaign, as stated in commission testimony, and claims about the circulation of sensitive police information and confidential documents. This remains under scrutiny and requires verification.
This comes from, if it's the CIA, there is extreme protocol that's followed. I mean, we all know the quality of the FBI and the CIA, and they will never, ever just include a man like this at all. They will work through the presidency if that is necessary, if they would in any way need it. But this is absolutely nonsense. It's not true. There's extreme rules, regulations, and protocols that are followed between countries if there's agents in other countries.
So that notwithstanding, Mike, it would seem that at certain times he did seemingly have access to some really interesting and at some points information that a person of his caliber, as you portrayed, should not be in possession of. So how do we explain that?
Hearsay information and assumptions is a huge problem. We all know the saying that what's the dangers of assumptions and hearsay information, and this is in the halls where they meet each other and where they talk and where they party. Taking consideration, we've said this before, these organized criminals in this level where there's government officials, generals, extreme businessmen, gangsters, all involved, they party. One thing criminals do is they party. They spend the money of others, our hard-earned money. They just cannot wait to give it out on wine, woman, and song. And this is where all these talks come from. Brown has just gone on a rampage now. He's just throwing it in there. He just is a loose cannon. And I'm actually surprised that this is allowed. This is really, I cannot explain it. I wouldn't allow it if I was in control of these hearings at all. I would have extreme standards set before the men and tell them this is how it works. And if you present something, you must have facts. You cannot just present hearsay information.
The speech is scripted. The analysis matters. But the real story is in the Parliamentary Committee's reaction, in the lawmakers' faces as they hear these demands. The committee chair, Soviet Lekanyane, called Mogotsi's demands ridiculous and unacceptable, and he said it in a public sitting. But to understand why Mogotsi draws so much distrust, we have to look at what happened when he finally testified before the Madlanga Commission in November 2025. Because that is where everything started to fall apart.
And I have no reason to believe that the one you took before us here means anything to you. Do you want to comment on that?
No comment, Commissioner.
Mogotsi was further caught up in more alleged lies as the co-commissioners approached other elements of his evidence with a lens of scrutiny, such as his claims of being an Umkhonto weSizwe operative in the 90s, which form part of a greater claim that he is a quote-unquote contact agent.
Do you know that Umkhonto weSizwe was disbanded in 1993?
Yes, I'm aware.
Yes. So, as a 13-year-old, you would have been an Umkhonto weSizwe operative in the SDU in 1993, as a 13-year-old.
No, I was not 13 years old. I know you, Commissioner, you are bringing it on the basis of my birthday era. I was not actually born in 1979. I was born in 1977.
So that's another lie in your affidavit
No.
when you said you were born in August 1979. That's another lie.
No, Commissioner, it's not a lie. Commissioner,
Mogotsi got caught up again in his claim that he did not know what he was referring to when he said, quote-unquote, we have got a breakthrough to Minister Mchunu via signal message. This as Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Matthew Chaskelson SC's cross-reference of Mogotsi's messages to Mchunu and his concurrent messages to alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Matlala pointed to a different conclusion, which was an alleged plot to have Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo and Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi arrested for defeating the ends of justice.
You see, Mr. Matlala,
What you just saw is not a nervous witness. It is a witness who cannot hold his own story together. In that moment at the Madlanga Commission, Mogotsi could not recall basic details about messages he himself had sent. When he was asked about a 30 million rand contract he mentioned in a message to Minister Mchunu, Mogotsi said, quote, I can't remember his surname. We were just interacting and he said he has a contract with SAPS for 30 million rand. How do you name figures that specific in private messages, but you cannot remember who you were talking about? The Commission's evidence leader, Matthew Chaskelson, confronted him directly, and this is where the hardest hit lands.
and I further said, because of the whistleblower who showed that the process, internal process, without the appointment letter, who confirmed that so-and-so has been appointed. He did that during the month of August. And with that information, whether the lawyers were paid or not, there was no way you could bring an agent application until you get the proof that this so-and-so has been appointed. That's the reason.
Yes, but you see, the judgment says, your affidavit says you only approached the lawyers in September. It says, so in your affidavit,
That's
in the
correct.
replying,
That's correct.
you say, I approach the lawyers in the legal representatives during September.
That's correct.
Once you've got the letter.
Yes, that's correct.
But we know from the payment that already in August you had approached them without the letter.
Yeah, that's correct. But there was no way you could give them full instructions without the appointment letter.
Yes, so it's not correct in your affidavit, in your replying affidavit, where you said to the court that I approached the legal representatives in September. Where I say August, it's a mistake, because that's what you said in your affidavit. You said to the court, where in the founding affidavit, I said I approached the lawyers in August. That's a mistake. I, in fact, approached them in September. You remember that's what happened,
I remember.
right? But the proof of payment, that schedule on page 2, shows that you actually approached the lawyers in August already.
But it means when the date that should be considered is when you have full instructions. Whether the money is with the lawyers in January and you get full instructions in June, that's the only time you can be able to go to court. Perhaps in the affidavit, there's only an omission that says we're supposed to have said we approached our legal team when we have full instructions in September. Perhaps that's what should have been said.
You did not tell the court. The point I'm checking with you is the issue of agency was important, and you understood that, because otherwise you would not have been heard, right? If the matter was considered not to be urgent. What I'm putting to you is the court was misled when it was told that you only approached the lawyers in September, when in fact you approached the lawyers in August. We know that from these documents.
It's true, Commissioner, but
Yes.
what would the lawyer do in August if there were no full instructions, Commissioner? There was nothing they could do.
Yes. No, I'm not arguing what would the lawyers do. I'm just clearing the fact of what the court was not told, or in fact what you said you were correcting, is where you had initially been honest with the court that the lawyers were approached in August, and when the issue of agency was taken up.
Mogotsi told the Madlanga Commission that he had lied under oath on previous occasions. His justification was, I had to do it as part of my functions as an agent. The Commission's evidence leader, Matthew Chaskelson, held nothing back. He told him to his face, I stand by my assertion that you are lying. You lied under oath. You are a professional liar. Judge Mbuyiseli Madlanga, the chair of the commission, was just as direct. An oath means nothing to you, and I have no reason to believe the one you took here means anything. Commissioner Sesi Baloyi added, "We should be concerned that you are using this platform to make allegations you are not backing up with evidence. This is the person who is now telling Parliament that he fears for his life and needs special security." To understand the scale of this, you have to look at the full context. The Madlanga Commission was established in July 2025 after KwaZulu-Natal's Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, made explosive allegations at a press briefing. Mkhwanazi accused Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and Lieutenant General Shadrach Sibia of working together to protect criminal syndicates.
In May 2018, it was then where this IMC was established by the President. So it is a committee of ministers, not a police-directed operation, but a committee that involves different departments. The IMC at the time met and listened to the investigation report that was presented, the so-called political task team that was established before them. And the observation, amongst others, was that the task team was working in silos. It was compromised, and that it did not have any investigation as well as a prosecutorial plan or strategy. As a result, there was a little or no progress in the investigation and prosecution of these cases. A decision was therefore taken by the IMC to establish a national integrated multidisciplinary task team, which consists of the South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, supported by both state security as well as correctional services, which commenced its work in July of 2018 to implement the now tried and tested analysis-led and prosecution-driven investigation strategy. As a result of the excellent performance, the Political Killings Task Team has been assigned in another presidential intervention project. I can name the few: the killing of the traditional leaders in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the murders that happened in the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. Since the establishment of this Political Killings Task Team in July 2018, the team has been investigating a total of 612 case dockets. These case dockets include murders, attempted murders, intimidation, conspiracy to commit murders, and other cases. A total of 436 suspects were arrested and charged. 156 firearms were recovered, of which 55 of them were linked directly with ballistically through our forensic testing to the political related cases. An additional 35 suspects who are members of the South African Police Service were arrested. The notable one is the one who's now in prison, who's been working with the parliamentarian who was involved in the murder, about the murder of one Senzo Mchunu. We're going to talk about that later. A total of 128 accused were found guilty on 106 cases. 29 accused were sentenced to life in prison. 40 accused were sentenced between 10 to 35 years. 25 accused were sentenced between 1 to 9 years. 23 accused were sentenced between 3 to 12 months. And there's quite a lot of awaiting trial prisoners that are going to be finalized in a few weeks.
Mkhwanazi's allegations included the dismantling of the Political Killings Task Team, interference in ongoing investigations, and links to a criminal network nicknamed the Big Five, said to operate mainly out of Gauteng. That network has been described as being involved in drug trafficking, vehicle hijackings, tender fraud, and contract killings. In testimony and public accounts, Brown Mogotsi has been mentioned as a possible intermediary or facilitator between political figures and people who are investigated or flagged. That remains an allegation discussed in the commission, and it still requires verification and proof. And when he finally testified before the Madlanga Commission in November 2025, he made a series of claims that many people described as far-fetched. He alleged that Mkhwanazi was a CIA agent. He said he met with an operative in Kenya to confirm it. He claimed he did this under instructions from the late Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa. He compared Mkhwanazi's July press briefing to a coup. He also alleged that Vusimuzi Cat Matlala is actually the feared hitman known as John Wick, who attacked members of the Boko Haram group in 2021.
Can you please sit down? We are not negotiating. We are not negotiating. We are not negotiating. Can you please sit down? Can you please sit down? Whoa. Let's do like this, honorable members, before we officially open the proceedings. Can we invite the members of the media? We give them 10 minutes to take pictures. We give them 10 minutes to take pictures.
There is one more detail that raises suspicions. On November 2nd, 2025, Mogotsi reported that he survived an assassination attempt in Vosloris. He said armed men fired 11 shots at his vehicle. Video evidence of the damage to the vehicle appeared, but police could not locate him afterwards to take his statement. Mogotsi did not show up at the station as he said he would. After that report, public questions and news reports emerged about difficulties in formalizing his statement and moving the case forward properly. In that context, concerns were raised about the lack of clarity around what happened, but there is no definitive public conclusion establishing whether the incident was real or not. Why does it matter? Because if a witness invokes an extreme threat level in order to set conditions for appearing, the system has to be able to verify that through clear procedures. If it is not clarified, trust in the process erodes, whether the risk was real or not. Let's go back to January 28, 2026. Brown Mogotsi refuses to appear before Parliament. He demands that taxpayers pay for his private security. He says he fears for his life, but he does not trust state security. The Parliamentary Committee says enough. They move to subpoena him. They are waiting for the Speaker's approval in the coming days to compel his appearance. If that is confirmed, Mogotsi will have no option. He will have to testify, and if he does not show up, he will be directly defying Parliament. On one side, you have what happened at the Madlanga Commission. There were strong accusations about contradictions and statements under oath, and messages and claims were discussed about advance access to sensitive policing decisions. It was also raised as an allegation that some of that information may have circulated to people mentioned in the context of investigations. That is exactly what is under public scrutiny. On the other side, you have the demands made to Parliament, private security paid by the state, refusal to follow normal protocols, delays, conditions, and logistical back and forth that the committee views as unacceptable. And in the middle, you have the public, South Africans who are tired of watching the rules bend for the connected. The central question remains, what is Mogotsi in this story? Someone who says he operated in intelligence, or someone others have pointed to as a possible intermediary moving through political connections? At this point, what exists publicly is competing versions and allegations that still have to be backed by evidence. Both versions cannot be true at the same time. What is in the public record is this. In the commission, messages and claims were discussed about advance access to sensitive police information. That remains disputed and is part of what still needs to be clarified with evidence. In the commission, messages were presented and claims were made about leaks and sensitive information, including that such information may have reached people mentioned in the context of investigations. That is disputed and is part of what needs to be tested with proof. And now he refuses to follow the rules everyone else has to follow. If you made it this far, you can see the pattern. This is not an isolated case. It is a window into how power works when nobody is watching. Share this video, tell me what you think in the comments, and subscribe, because this story is not over. Mogotsi is going to be subpoenaed. He will have to appear. And when he does, there will be more revelations. We need informed citizens who demand transparency.